All right. So I will actually start with you, Andre, and hope that uh, sorry, I can't remember names. I'll go back and check. Oh yeah, hope that Paul shows up later. Okay. Yeah, Andre, super nice update. I feel like I'm really feeling the like how pretty this is, like it went from, like a house in the snow to like where I want to live, like it's such a nice update. I think everything's working for me for the most part. There's nothing I would say that like is really standing out. There's only like uh, two notes that I would give. I mean, like they're super minor, so you could either like hit them in comp or not hit them at all. Um, but it's just something I've noticed. So like back here, I feel like there is yellow and blue mixing, and it's feeling kind of green. So I just hit it with like a roto and a grade. Um, just to like change the color, and I feel like you get that blue back. It's
Uh-huh.
like one thing to always be careful of, like uh, when you mix like a blue sky with a warm like sun, you usually get like a neutral color. They kind of like, so, but in this case I think there's so much yellow with that blue instead, so it just goes green. And I think that's like outside of your color range, like
Yeah.
everything else
Mm-hmm.
is blue. And then the only other thing that I was gonna say is like this set of rock right here. It's a little like too dark for I think how far back it is. And it's like if I if I look at the luminance here, like it's the one piece that sticks out to me,
Uh-huh.
like back there. Just like for some reason it really like pulls my eye. Um, because back there I feel like it should all be, kind of light. So I would just like either grab that with an ID, or you could do it in comp or in lighting, but I would just like gamma it up to there, like just the rock, right? And then
Uh-huh.
and then like it let me, you know what, it might just be easy to it might just be easy to do a roto. So terrible roto. And then something like that. And then now when you look at your luminance, it just kind of sits a little further back, so it doesn't take up
Uh-huh.
that like visual space. Um,
Yep.
yeah, and then yeah, that's really it. I mean, I think you've kind of nailed it for the most part. If you had, if like, if I was in a professional, like situation, the only other note that I might give is I might want to feel a little bit more like shadow in here. And
Uh-huh.
I think the reason is, and it's not that it doesn't look great, but I think, sorry, the reason is because if I go back to the luminance channel, I get like this darkness here, and I think that it's necessary. Like you have like a good range. Everything in a reflection usually is like a stop or two darker anyway. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think this is good. I just think like some of this like shape that you have in here, some of this like darkness that you have in there, it like might look nice like over here, and it might be another one of those things where you're helping like with the help of like some contrast, you're helping like the viewer get here, you know.
Uh-huh.
um, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see that. Oh, one quick question, because I was looking at it right now, and I'm wondering if should I make the reflection a bit more golden also.
you know, I don't, it doesn't bother me right now. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be better, but yeah, I mean, we can try it. We have some time. Actually, there's only two. Um, so let's try. Uh, so I'm just gonna grab like softly this section. Half the time, if you see me struggling, it's because I'm trying to make sure I'm hitting the right keys. On a Mac, it's all different. So I just made a thing with the grade, and then in the gain. So I'm just bringing up like the red and the green here. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it's like, maybe that's too. Yeah, what do you think? It's like
Yeah,
I can take it or leave it. You know what I mean? Like I think it's fine with or without. The gain, and it's kind of like bringing your eye there a little bit if you gain it up more,
hmm.
and maybe you want to like look up here instead.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll play around with it. Maybe when I darken the shadow on the on the cabin, it will tie together with the reflection better.
Yeah. So what I did here was just now is and let me do this. Okay. So what I did there was um, I like added a little gamma to the to it to like lower the shadow a little bit, and then I molded it down so that it wasn't getting overly bright. So like I increased the
Hmm.
gamma, and I can just show like what that looks like. So it's like, when you increase the gamma, it gets a little too bright, but it like fills in the darks a little bit, and then I just bring it back down, and
Uh-huh.
in that way, I think you kind of like you lower the shadow a little bit, and then when this one comes in, maybe it'll look closer, because I think the this shadow down here might be a little too dark. So maybe
Yeah.
that like equalizes it a little bit once this shadow comes down a little.
Hmm.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, I don't have like any other major comments. I think like extra credit, you could probably I see them this here. Um, you could probably like boost that specular like a little bit, just so that it hits your eye when you look at the whole image. Um, but that's like the smallest of the smallest notes. Otherwise, I think, yeah, you're in really good shape. So
Cool.
yeah, I would do that, and then just like put it on your website. You know, uh, yeah, I think it looks good. So uh, yeah, good job. Actually,
Thank you.
let me see. I was gonna see what this looks like if I. So I'm just gonna grab this stuff real harshly and then yeah. So I feel like I I feel like throwing in that shadow back there kind of
Uh,
brings back
yeah,
some shape and stuff like that from it. So I
yeah,
think that'll
that,
help you. Yeah. Awesome work, man. Awesome work.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I sometimes I wonder if I'm like too critical, you know. So I want to make sure
No,
that like there's a like a light at the end of the tunnel.
I think that we should. Well, I'm very uh, perfectionist, so you can you can critique it away. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Okay, cool. So next, Paul hasn't come back yet, but I guess he'll just have to. I wonder if it's either too late or too early for him, like at this hour. Um, but anyway, he posted this update, and uh, this was the previous one. And just to be clear for anybody watching, is that the previous notes were actually given by both Mike and Francesco. So Francesco did a paint over a while back, looked like this. And then I think this one was the last one Mike saw, and he gave some notes to help the readability. And then these two rather are the ones that Paul submitted today. The first thing I was going to comment on, which was that he said that they made two versions of the floor, and which one did I think was contributing more. I actually like this one better, and the only reason is because I think like this is kind of a distracting shape language to have like on your ground. Like it feels really, even though there's some texture here and some differences, the lines themselves are so perfect and so ordered that it feels artificial. Um, so it just kind of gets in the way, I think. And I feel this one feels way more natural to me. I don't get that patterny feel in there. So I would stick with this one. There is something nice about this one though, and that's the context shadows are actually coming through a little nicer. So I would uh, maybe darken this section here, either through shadow work or through, just whatever it is that you have, um, like whatever shading you have, maybe try to darken it a little bit here, and that might help you with those shadows. Because if that's the only thing that changed, then I feel like the color difference, is helping there. Um, but other than that, I think this is like looking really nice. I had some comments, some like really just nitpicky technical things. One thing is that this hat's not getting this light, and I feel that it's a little, it just looks weird, that it's not receiving the same light. So I would try to just integrate that. Other quick notes: whenever you have shapes close to other shapes, it can get a little like muddy, like reading the character's action. So we we always used to hit on like tangents like this and try to like then move them in animation or something. So I don't know if you can or can't, but maybe if it's possible, like to take this arm and like move it forward a little bit, like down. I think then you'll get like a nice shape on the back of the character, and then you'll get another shape that's nice more inside, like on the inside part of the character, and you'll you'll kind of like keep your shape language of this like eggplant shape, like more clearly defined, and you won't like lose your edges. So I mean, that's not lighting. It's but it just helps visually, to like break up those items. Um, yeah, and I think a lot of this is working well. Uh, so moving on from here, I'm gonna start to get a little like nitpicky, like things that I would do myself. Um, I honestly think if this is like if this is a piece that you were gonna uh, put on your resume, like there's probably some extra steps you can take, but it doesn't bother me, you know, at all. Like looking at this, I could tell that you were thinking about your rims and shaping and stuff like that. But I think there's always, we're at that like 90% now, and so we're gonna talk about some little things here and there, and we have the time. So, um, so the first thing I was gonna say is, okay, the eye work here is a little strange, because you have this like moon shape iris pupil. And generally, when you have the moon shape, the inside of the moon is supposed to be the ding. Like that's kind of like the language there. So you have like another piece of light here, and I'm not sure that it's helping you at all. You might want to either remove it or find a different way to do your eyes. Um, like uh, I mean, first it's like they don't both have the ding. And second, I almost feel like maybe you should try just without the ding completely. And I think that'll help you out. The other thing is, I'm assuming that this bottom part here is teeth. So teeth and eyes should kind of be uh, like eyes should be a little brighter than your teeth and maybe a little more neutral. So right now I feel like the teeth are reading a little brighter and the eyes are reading a little less bright. So I would kind of flip them. I'd make your eyes a little brighter, just a tad. Don't get over range with the whites. Um, and then the teeth can either stay or you can lower them. But like they're both looking a little yellow, and I would just desaturate them a little bit. So uh, let's try to do that here and see how that looks. Maybe sometimes like it's hard to tell what's gonna look. It's hard to tell what's gonna look the best sometimes without actually trying it. But it's just like my gut feeling that maybe the eyes can use some work. And I know watching me make rotos is so exciting for you guys, so I apologize for that.
It's part of the work. So
some people do this for a living. So
right, exactly. So
okay, so I'm gonna just turn off the visuals and I'm gonna just brighten them just a little bit, and I'm gonna okay, so you can see like I've just kind of desaturated them a little bit, maybe like 30%, and then I increased the value because I wanted them to, I want your eye to like read the characters, facial features. It's like we should know what's actually going on here. So I think just that little bit, and if I disable it, helps like push us to that level. And then if you if you look at your Luma, now your eyes are kind of popping a little bit better too. Because before they were just kind of in the same range as like your skin, um, and stuff like that. So they might be like a little over leveled here, but if you're doing it in lighting, you can just take it and increase that value, whatever intensity value you have for the eyes a little bit. Or you can increase the like albedo of your shader on the eyes. And then the teeth too, I think they're also looking a little yellow. So, one of the things I like to talk about is you don't want to like give up your tricks. You want things to feel natural without you kind of revealing what's actually happening, right? It's like a magic show. So eyes and teeth, because they're both kind of like white and ivory, like they will reveal to your audience like what color is hitting them, like just easier. uh, so anything that's white will generally take color like super easy. So just be careful, because now it's like, because we were able to see that the color was so yellow, it kind of reveals like what's coming in here. So it's just like a cleanliness thing, like you'll read it easier, it'll stick out more. It's just like one of those things to watch for. So same thing with the teeth. I would actually create a different one, and the reason I'd create a different node is because you want to treat the teeth a little bit differently than your eyes, because you want to make sure that the teeth are bright, but they're not like, brighter than your eyes are. Like that kind of stuff. It's like you don't want to be looking at the teeth, but you do want to feel them. So here I'm just desaturating it, and then I'm probably going to darken it a little bit. But again, like the darkening doesn't work so well with these kinds of like images. So you'll just have to like deal with like some kind of like weird but yeah, so right away I feel like between the original and this one, and again this might have gone a little gray. It shouldn't be like that, but I just feel like that little bit allows me to kind of read the character's eyes a little more. And then if you get rid of this ding, it's like generally I'm not telling people to get rid of the eye dings, but I'm just not sure with these kind of cutout eyes that's what you do. I would just look for reference, or try it, or if you do like it with the ding, like see about putting it in the other one too. So that's something. The other thing I was gonna chat about is like sometimes things are like a little over level. So this value here, it's not necessarily a bad thing if this was a short, and let's say the story was that like something was coming out of here, or he was trying to distract himself from looking in the door, or you know what I mean, like there's a lot of gags with like refrigerators, or something like that, or like the forbidden room or something like that. Then I think this is kind of like a good look, because I notice it a lot behind him. And but I do think like this bottom area here gets a little over leveled. It just like blows out, and I'm not sure like if that's part of your story or not of this shot. But if I look at the luminance, this is your brightest area by far, by probably like 2 stops maybe. So it's just something that you have to be aware of, and like if it's something you want people to look at a lot, then that's fine. But I would just tone this green area down a little bit. And I actually went back through some of your versions, and I saw that it was always kind of that level. But like when I see it here, what's nice about, the paint over is that it's the cracks that are bright, but the spill coming in is kind of like a little less. So I would try to, like, keep the crack area, like, even here you can actually increase that value and then lower this one, and then it'll feel like it's spilling into the room naturally. So it'll feel like it's a bright room, but and the room and the bright room lights are kind of spilling into this one. Right now I almost feel like there's a light right outside shooting onto the floor. Um, so it's just about, like, how how you're gonna make your audience feel. But for my money, I would just soften that a little bit. I think. Let's see if I can make you guys watch me do more rotos. So instead of, let me see. So instead of just lowering it, I'm gonna try something silly and see if it works or not. I don't know if it will. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, all I did was blur it out, and I know that that's not, like a super great look there. And then I think I can. But I think what it illustrates is that, and maybe I went too far, with the darkening. But I think what it illustrates is, like, now that it's at this level, when I look here, and again, like, you'll have a nicer fall off from there, is that, like, my eyes are just not going to this, like, super bright spot here. It should just be like a ramped fall off, instead of like a pool there. But again, it's like a really minor thing, like a lot of your, like, the way that you're balancing things is really nice. I like the light coming in from there. So all that stuff is really nice. The other thing that I was going to talk about is you have this, like, long shadow coming into your scene here. The shadow's fine. It's actually this shadow that I wanted to talk about, and I can tell that this shadow is from here. Um, you know, as far as, like, the frame goes, I almost feel like you can get away without having this shadow here from this guy. Like, it would clean up your read. You wouldn't have, like, a dark shape here, and suddenly you would just be like this character, everything behind him here, and then the punching bag. Um, so I would consider, try it and see if it looks weird, but I don't think it will. Uh, like, just go ahead and replace, the floor with this one. And I know I'm actually looking at the wrong one. I should be looking at this one. Because initially, I think the way that your eye reads the shadows is not so much that, because this is so high off the ground, you can't really tell depth so well. Um, your eye kind of reads this shadow as coming from him. It's like so close to where he's standing that it kind of gets confusing. Like, I thought maybe initially that the shadow was coming forward from like this light that's hitting him, but then I realized it was essentially the same direction as the main light. So I would just consider getting rid of that. Um, yeah, and if I was a better paint artist, I would try to, like, paint like, just do like a stamp replace here to show you what it looked like, but I'm not gonna put you guys through that. And then the other thing I was gonna say is and this is like a personal thing. Uh, the the color and shape of his shoes, they look. What was the word? What was the word that was used for us? It was. Oof. There was like a common word that we like were always hearing, and it just like was when something was uh, like white or gray, but reading as a different color, and I think that might be what's going on here. It's not a huge deal for me, but yeah, somehow I think it's the same situation with the eyes, where you're putting this like yellow light, that you can see right here on your character, and it's mixing with the white of your shoes, and it's making it look yellow, where the shoes should likely be whiter, or just, if not whiter, then just more desaturated to look grayish. I just think it's like the yellowy gray that's like, looking a little weird. Um, just to give you an example, I'm gonna actually pull up let me see something real quick. Okay, so this is like an extreme. Of course I get shots of peanuts. This is like an extreme example of this, but I think it's worth discussing, because it's like it was just common. It was really common in this film that we did. I don't see it coming up. So anyway, let me find. Maybe I can do like a. Come on. Okay. So, when we were working with these characters, one of the big things was that Snoopy is a white character. Like his base color is like white, and so when you throw any color on him, uh, he has the tendency to go very muddy, which means like his white color will take on all these other colors, and then if you're not careful about he doesn't read like Snoopy anymore. Like he reads like some other character, or he just reads like like a bad render. Same thing for Charlie Brown. We had a very specific color that his hat was going to get, and like you can see this like lighter color area here. um, and even his skin, it's like if you used strange colors, you had to treat him differently, for like the skin, for like Snoopy's fur, for like the fur on his hat. Like there was this constant effort to keep the color bright and true, right? Like true to like the character's like look. And if you're going into, if you're going into something like, animation, that's going to be a very common thing. Like the designers made this character look a certain way, and you want to make them look that way as well. It's like, yes, if they're in like a green room, they'll look green, and it'll look natural because that's their surroundings. But when they're looking, when they're in this like natural environment, you want to make them look natural as well. So Snoopy's kind of like a great example, like you put a yellow light on him, like look at the snow, and then look at Snoopy. Um, or like look at this like banister, and then look at Snoopy. Like there was always this very distinct thing that we had to do, is to like keep him filled enough that he didn't look, like dirty. And I mean dirty, like just in his like shadow, like color. Like it can kind of like not work with his base color. um and even the key, we had to keep like a certain color, or like a certain color range and a certain intensity range, so that he looked bright and like the character. Now this is like a super uh, extreme example, because Peanuts was 100% trying to make the characters look like they should. But what I'm getting at is like, I feel like there's like light contamination into the shoes here. And I know it's like so picky, but I just want to like bring it up that if you did some like treatment here where you use like a less yellow light on the shoes, it might make the whole character like pop a little bit better. um, and you might feel like, oh, suddenly like I can see the shoes, like suddenly like it becomes a little bit more playful. So it's just like really tiny things for you to change, and I think like this is really nice. uh, and yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but
go ahead.
do you think that the texture on the leather on the punching bag could be a little smaller?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I guess it depends.
I mean, I can see now that it's going to be a lot of work, but I don't know. It kind of jumps at me to be a little bit off scale.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying for sure. I do think like the smaller you make it, you end up running into like different issues where now you're going to get kind of like a noisier image potentially. But I think
No,
but I think like what he could do is maybe lower the displacement, or lower the bump or whatever it is that he's using on it. uh, and it'll kind of like have the both effects, right? It'll like you won't notice the bumps as much, um, and so it won't like stick out so much. But then you won't incur that like high frequency, like potentially moire patterning happening
uh,
there. Um, but yeah, I mean, uh, if he's willing to, it could use some work. But yeah, it does look over cranked. It looks like uh, he took that bump texture and just pushed it too far, or the displacement, whatever it is. But yeah, good call out for sure. Um, yeah, other than that, I don't really have any notes. I mean, I know like it was a lot to talk about, but I think the image is looking good. Um, the only other thing I would say, if like, is maybe consider, and I know like he's probably shadowing it, but it'd be kind of nice to get a little bit of green on the hand here, just to kick it off of this like back wall. Um, that's like really low level though. And then I wasn't around for the beginning of the shot, so I'm not sure, but like, is the exterior, is this like secondary light? And this is a question you have to answer for yourself. Is I'm not sure that I'm reading like what this light coming in is. If I had to, I feel like it's a light over a ring, like a boxing ring or something like that. Like that's kind of how I'm reading it. Um, and if that's the true, if that's the case, then I think it's working. If not, um, like you might want to reassess like like what light types you're using. But I think you're really far. Like you don't have to go back or do anything like that. The other thing I was going to say is, I think this speck here on his belly is just like, it's a little distracting for me. I would expect it to be a little less, uh, only so that my eyes go up here and not down here. In that effort, I think the like in like I talked about putting some green here. You could potentially take this piece too, just the head area, um, and then like increase the brightness a little bit. I think it has an effect of increasing, like, uh, bringing our eye closer up to this area here. Um, and then I think if this specular comes down, then like I understand why it's there. I get the sense that you're trying to make it feel like he's sweating or sweaty, but it's not reading that way to me. It's just reading like he has a sweaty, like a sorry, like a specular tummy, or like he's damp but not sweaty. But still, I don't think it's doing you any favors. The other last thing about the face that I was going to bring up is I always have these false endings. I'm sorry. uh, the mouth. So along with like the teeth and the eyes, and this is really because of the color choices of the character itself. So what's happening is you have red eyelids, a red nose, and a red mouth, and red like uh, boxing gloves. And I think it's all getting like a little bit muddy, like it's getting lost, like where one thing starts and one thing, ends. So, in an effort to at least read your facial features a little bit more, well, I would just darken the mouth a little bit. And I think it like has it sit a little further back, it has that effect of pushing it back and giving it like unless I'm reading it wrong and it's like a mustache, like a big mustache, like the guy from Luca. But I feel like it's his mouth and this is bottom teeth. So if I'm mistaken on that, I'm sorry. So here was the original, and then this is like the changes that we made to like the face area. And I think it has like a positive effect of bringing us closer here. And then I think if I can't do this with these frames, but if you just like killed the speck a little bit here, I think that'll help. Yeah, it's an interesting shot because I think you have a lot of like detail in your shading, and then this character is like actually very like simple in relation. I mean, these things are actually just as detailed as the background are, but the rest of him is very like simple. And so I think you have a good mix here, and it's all about like getting the read exactly where you want it. So, and I like this like green hit here that you're having on the bag. So that's kind of why I think even though this is shadowed, you could probably fake a light here from it, just a slight one, and it'll help you out a little bit. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have. I promise I won't say anything else. But there's really not much else to say. So honestly, I think you did a really good job. And yeah, it's interesting seeing like this piece of art, and like how Francesco like envisioned the lighting. I actually see, I worked with Francesco. I don't know if you guys know that, but and he's a really good lighter. But I actually see like the latest movie he worked on, the DreamWorks one. I can't remember the name now, but I feel like he worked on that a lot, and I see that film in this painting, so it's kind of interesting to me. Yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna stop sharing. And yeah, does anyone have any questions or comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, hopefully it's all going smoother, and the videos are like better quality. I'm trying to figure it all out. I used to have like this really nice mic, and it was really quiet and it didn't have any other noise, and I can't set any of it up, so just caught me at the wrong time. Um, but yeah, looking forward to more of your work. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Good
See
night.
y'all.
Bye.